Alright, my side, what's up? So in this video, we're gonna be talking about sex in your 30s. So, as a recent 30-year-old, not recent, I don't know, I keep going through this struggle with age. But, as somebody in their 30s, I feel like there was a lot of like conceptions that I've saw on TV and like media about like sex in your 30s. So I'm like, as someone that's currently, experiencing it, yeah, let me talk about like what I think is true, what I think is not true. And that's overall, just give my little insight. So as you know, handy dandy notes. So yeah, I'm gonna just go through. Alright, so first myth that I heard about sex in your 30s. So I heard that women's sex drive would peak in their 30s and that men's sex drives would decline. From my personal experience, that's really not the case. And in fact, I'll give a funny story. I feel like I've had moments in my 20s where I had like a really big decline in like my drive for sex. And, it obviously came back. Well, not obvious, but yeah, it came back. And I've had moments in my 30s where, extremely high sex drive. And sometimes when it's low, I feel like your drive for sex is based off so much more factors than just your age. To be fair, I'm pretty, young in the 30s journey, but I feel like the stress level that you're going through has such a bigger effect on your sex drive because I know people that are super young that don't have, a very healthy relationship with sex because of the level of stress that they're under. I think stress is going to be a way bigger factor than your age when it comes to sex. And especially if you're someone that keeps pretty healthy, you're not going to be struggling to have a good sex life or, a good sex drive. I think it's natural for human beings to want sex. Some persons might want less, especially those that are, maybe on different spectrums, like asexual or whatever. But for the average human being, they'll have a good relationship with sex as long as they're healthy, not depressed, So once you check those bells and whistles, like you're not having health issues, you have a good work life relationship, you're probably gonna have a pretty strong sex drive in your 30s. So don't get like all worried about like, oh, I'm 30, I'm not gonna be able to have the same kind of sex that I used to have. Like, nah, you'll be good. Just if you're stressed out, no. Yeah, that might be different. Ooh, this is a long set of myths. So much myths. All right, next thing, your sex life becomes routine and less exciting. I have mixed feelings about this one, and here's the reason why I have mixed feelings. I feel like the level of exciting and interesting your sex life stays is really based on your work life. Because here's the thing, hear me out, hear me out. If you have a lot of freedom, then I think it's a lot easier for it to be a very spontaneous and exciting when it comes to sex. I feel like the modern day stress of living in this society, it's very hard to be exciting and spontaneous when you need routine to kind of maintain your life. So it's like if you're like, let's say you have like a career where you have a lot of freedom, I think it's easier for you to have this spontaneousness and be like, hey babe, let's go do this, or you just go random places and go get freaky or or whatever. But I feel like when one, maybe have kids, or two, have a really stressing work life relationship, it does get harder to, because I feel like the biggest antagonist when it comes to sex is work and stress. Like it's usually work. I feel like anybody I know that have like a bad sex drive is usually because they have a very crazy job. I feel like everybody that has like a great job or makes a lot of money, they usually have a great sex life because they have more freedom. I think freedom, like, oh, let's go do this, or oh, it's like they're not thinking constantly about what's happening next, so they don't have this like gloom and doomy feeling. So it's like they're so much more free and happier, and that does lead to a better sex drive. So it's mixed. I don't think it's your age that makes it that way. I think it's if you don't have that level of freedom, and yeah, you usually get more locked in by your 30s. So for instance, in your 20s, you probably don't care how irresponsible you are, and if you miss a bill or two here, or if you're flat broke. But in your 30s, you do care. So probably you're more likely to lock into work and probably not make, those spontaneous random decisions. So I don't think it's a myth. I just think we're blaming the wrong thing. But also, let me just state, there are people that probably still make the effort regardless of their day-to-day stress, that still put in that extra effort to have like a great sex life. Kudos to them. Like you guys have good multitasking and time management skills. Big up on yourself. I don't know how I do it. Personally, I think I'm extremely free. That's why I can give you guys videos every day. So yeah, if you're wondering, yeah, I have a great sex life. Except when I'm pretty stressed out. Sometimes my work stresses me out and I don't feel like But yeah, let's not get too personal. You're too old for experimentation. Yo, crazy, yo, crazy. I feel like there's no time constraint, no age for experimenting. Like, we'd say, oh, let me just pause. With whatever you're into. So, like, yeah, like, sex is something that's very unique, especially to us as humans. Like, people are into some very interesting stuff, but it's just like, yeah, there's no age gap for try stuff and have fun. In fact, I feel like you should more have fun when you get older. Like when you're older and you know like you've worked hard, you deserve to have some fun and try out stuff. There's no age gap with experimenting. There's no age gap with finding out what you like. It's very unique. You might never know you like something until you try it. I'm not gonna go into too much details on this one because yeah, that one yeah. You know? Here's one. Sex is all about physical performance. Yeah, that's interesting too. Like, I feel like cause of like pornography and like media culture, we get this idea that you know the best sex is, you know, like going hard and, you know, like making her make the most noise or just like, you know, really putting on a show. And I feel like it's through practice and like actually having a partner you realize that there's so much more. Like not for so there's places for both, but it's like you have to kind of realize that there's a level of like intimacy involved, and there's a level of understanding that everybody kind of likes different things. So there are intertwining stuff where maybe one person might like it a little bit rough. Maybe some persons like, you know, being uh, spoken to dirty or whatever. So it's just like it's not necessarily about like physical performance all the time. There is nuance. There is, you know, how comfortable you are with somebody. There is stuff like foreplay. So it's just like don't use porn as your teacher or mentor when it comes to sex. Really try and spend some time and kind of figure out what you like, and also spend some time with your partner, which is why it's helpful to have the same partner because if you're having different partners, it's going to be very tricky. And you're also going to have like a skewed perspective because you might feel like, oh, this works on the majority, so everybody will like it. But no, like it's a very nuanced thing. Lots of people are into very different things, so you have to really get in tune with an individual and not focus on like majority, especially with something that is very unique. It's a very unique thing, trust me. Like no matter how much porn you see, no matter how much sex you've had, everybody's different. So it really had to kind of lock in and figure out your person and not just focus on like, you know, pound town. You can't enjoy casual sex. Yeah. I actually really want to hit this one. So firstly I'll say, yeah, people might glorify this idea of, oh, you have to be in this kind of relationship, especially when you're older, because when you're older, everything needs to matter and this, that, and that. And it's like, no. I feel like everybody has different desires and needs, and it's such a very nuanced topic. Not every sexual encounter has to be very deep and spiritual and meaningful. Sometimes it's okay to have fun, casual sex. Sometimes it's okay to just like, I don't believe in necessarily, for instance, um, you know, dehumanizing people. Like, for instance, you don't want to have any kind of dialogue. You don't want to talk. You don't see them as a human, just as an object. But like, it doesn't mean that you guys need to end up in a relationship or end up married just because you guys are sleeping around. Like, I feel like casual relationships are pretty good. Like, I feel like you can have like a casual arrangement where like you guys are open about what you want. It's just sex. You guys are probably friends, and you can still enjoy that. It doesn't have to be, oh, because I'm 30, this has to lead to marriage or this has to lead to something important. Nah, it's okay if you guys are just having fun, enjoying the moment. People still have fun in their 30s. Everything does not need to be a thought piece. Everything does not have to be deeper than it is. Some things are deep and some things aren't. Not everything has meaning, and I think when you get to like understand that that's okay, you have such a better time doing things versus trying to make everything into something that it's not. So yeah, like casual sex can be very good no matter what age. It's just to really clearly tell the person like this is what I'm looking for. And if you're not, then it's perfectly fine. It's okay to have differences in opinion. We don't need to be enemies with one side. So the casual side is not an enemy of the serious side. Like you can have both. I think that's all the myths. Yo, I covered a bunch of myths, but this video is not a myth video. I think one of my biggest growth factors in terms of my sex life in my 30s is kind of being okay with, wait a second, no, just being direct. I feel like when you're younger, we're a lot more indirect. Like it, obviously people know what your intentions are, but it's like you're a lot more shy to communicate certain things. For instance, I'll give you guys a funny story. every time I go into the pharmacy to buy condoms, or when I used to go in the pharmacy to buy condoms, I get so embarrassed. It's just like I'd be like, oh, these people know I'm gonna have sex and they're judging me, but it's just like, why am I being like nervous about that when all these people here are having sex? It's so funny. Like, can you relate to that? Like, do you know what I'm talking about? Like, you go in the pharmacy and you're buying condoms and it's just like, oh, okay. And it's just like, you grow up and you realize, nah, people are doing a lot worse than having sex. Like, you buying condoms, you should be proud. Like, you should be proud that you're actually having like safe sex. And I feel like should also be more open to like having discussions about like, okay, this is what I'd like to do, or this is what I want, or this is where um yeah, just open communication. I feel like when we're younger, like it was almost like an unsaid rule. Like you never want to be like, oh, I'd like to have sex, because it just feels like it kills the mood. And it's just like you get older and it's just like, nah, if I can't tell you that I want to have sex, then why are we in a relationship? It's like, why do we need to like basically be coy about something that we all openly are doing and should be having discussion about? I feel like we should have open discussions about stuff like this. I don't feel like it needs to be all our discussions, but I just feel like if we can't communicate what we want, then it's just like we've already reached a, a, a impasse point in the relationship, Like, you shouldn't be afraid to be like, hey, I want to do this or I want to do that. Honestly, that talking in this video right now is very nerve-wracking because I'm just wondering if my neighbor's hearing me and judging me. But it's ironic because it's going on the internet, so why am I concerned about my neighbors judging me when I'm putting this online? What else? Bodied positivity and self-acceptance. All right, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not probably the best person to talk about body positivity and acceptance when it comes to sex because, yeah, I'm constantly working on my body. I feel like as a Jamaican, like, yo, Jamaican people, when it come to weight, yo, like, first of all, I'm gonna take off my shirt in another video just to kind of prove a point because, yeah, because here we're going, guys. I have to prove that point here. So, I used to be skinny, right? And I gained weight. Now, I've never been, as far as I'm concerned, I've never been like quote unquote fat. Because I've gotten maybe chunkier, but never fat. Or when I say chunky, I'll probably try to find a picture to post. But guys, people actively call me fat, even though I have wait, my fly is undone, hold on. Even though I have like an active relationship in the gym, people call me fat. So, I'm doing this for a reason. Don't worry. This is not clickbait. So this is how I look, right? And people call me fat. And we have this weird culture in Jamaica where if you're not like extremely skinny, you're fat. And it's given me a very weird relationship with like my body weight and gym. I'm constantly obsessing with losing weight and putting on muscle because honestly, I don't want to be fat. Like I don't want to have too much weight. I'm very self-conscious about my body. So not self when it comes to sex, I don't feel like it affects me having sex, but it more so affects like just how I view myself. So I'm constantly working out, trying to look better, trying to, lose weight. Like I don't even know how much I weigh now, but I'm always trying to lose weight. Always trying to like, get chiseled abs and shit, bigger arms, whatever. But I said this to say, even at my current weight, which I think is fine, I'm still very self-conscious. So all in all, I feel like that's something you kind of have to work on. Personally, if your appearance affects your sex drive or your sex life, then you probably need to do therapy, and I probably need to do therapy too. But it hasn't affected mine because I feel like a lot of how I feel is internal. So it's not like my partners let me feel bad or I'm afraid to take off my shirt. Because usually if I'm sleeping with somebody, I might have like even if I'm not like I don't wear shirts in general. Like I'm not someone that wears shirts. I'm always with my shirt off. But you still feel that level of like self-consciousness. But I said that to say, um, I don't fully accept my body. So maybe there is somewhere deep down where it could be affecting me sexually. But at the moment I don't notice that. I'm still okay taking off my shirt, taking off my pants, like can't do that on YouTube. But yeah, like with that being said, hold on, put on my shirt. Yeah, so with that being said, I feel like I'm probably like a unique experience where, yes, I'm insecure about my body, but not when it comes to sex, just with me. Like, I really have this, maybe it's because of TV and media, I have this expectation where I want to look like I'm in a Marvel movie. the work that it requires is crazy. And especially when you want to have a normal life, you want to get drinks. It's kind of hard to get that look, especially naturally. But luckily for me, I think I still am okay with the sex life, even though I know not fully accepted. So yeah, like don't think that because you're gonna become 30, you're gonna automatically be okay with your body. Nah, it's a lot more nuanced, and you might still hate your body in your 30s. Hopefully you don't, and if you want to prevent that, check into the therapy. Sexual health. So all right, boom. What I would definitely say one of the biggest things that I've kind of gotten okay with is the idea of asking certain questions before you guys get intimate. So it's just like I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I do not test before every partner. I probably should, but I have gotten in the idea of okay, I'll test every 3 months. You get me? So I won't lie to anybody. I'm not gonna be like, oh, new partner, let's get tested. But I try to get tested every 3 months. I've always been very pro condoms, mostly because I'm afraid of having kids. So it's very good that condoms prevent STDs as well as kids. But I think my main motivator was not my fear of STDs, but my fear of kids. But yeah, I feel like you have a partner, especially as you're older, and health is very important when you're older too. Yeah, it's you should get comfortable with going to the doctor, bringing up conversations about sexual health, sexual history, and stuff like that. I won't make it seem like I'm like, hey, let's go get tested, babe. I'm not, and I don't think most people are like that. But I do think it's important, like especially if you have some basic health care, or even if you don't, because it's pretty cheap to get tested. You could do it every 3 months just to kind of be aware. I think that's important. I do that. Like that's what I do. I could probably be better where that is concerned, but I think it's a lot better from where I'm coming from, because as a younger adult, I think tested when I was getting like a job. Cause here's the truth. Back in Jamaica I didn't have healthcare. So it's like when you don't have healthcare, you're not necessarily going to want to be doing like STD checkups, especially if you don't feel like you have anything. That's just me being honest. You're more motivated to do a checkup when you feel like you have something. But if you're gonna have to pay for it, it's just like nah, cause like paying for the doctor is crazy unless you're sick, which is probably something you should get out of the habit. But when you actually have healthcare, you're more incentivized to actually go get a checkup, go to the doctor, because it's just like okay, even if it's costing you, it's not costing you that much, and it's just a lot easier to kind of go. So I feel like when healthcare for certain stuff like that is free, people will be a lot more. Yeah, they'll probably be scared, but they'll be a lot more willing to go get tested and kind of know the sexual health. So saying that to say, I feel like as you get older, it's a lot easier to have those conversations about sex, about your sexual health, and it's a lot easier because hopefully by the time you're in your 30s, you have some kind of health care, health card, something, so you can go get those tests because they're important, and especially now that your immune system will be a little, less strong as it was when you were younger, because yes, your body does decline over time. 30s is not the big decline, but I can assume that the because think of your 20s like a slow rise to your peak, and then let's say you peak at some point, and then your 30s is a very slow descent. I do not think 30s is a big descent, but if I'm being honest, there must be some gradual decline as you get older. I think that's a natural part of life. Okay, dokes. The last part. So the last part of this video, guys, I just would like to say, in your 30s, it is a great time to really figure out stuff. Don't be tricked into thinking that, oh, I should have everything together. No, it's okay. Like if you spend most of your 20s working or going to school and you never get to figure out yourself sexually or whatever, you can still do that. If you were doing it and you didn't fully get it done, you can still continue. There's no timeline or age. I'm really emphasizing my 30s because it's like I feel like there's so much stuff being said about 20s, and 30s is usually this age where you feel like, oh no, now you're an uncle, and it's like you should have this, you should have that, and it's just like nah. Like life is changing. We're living in a very weird age right now, so it's just like it's okay to not know everything, especially when it comes to life and your sex life, which is very complicated. So listen, like let me know what you're experiencing in your 30s in the comments. If you guys enjoyed this video, the YouTube algorithm says that you're going to like this video right here.